encourage people to think outside the box and think about things way beyond gaming. Chunky breach hunters, we have the chunky quests.
We always hear soon in crypto, but...
Oh, we've been in panic mode for a while. Obviously, while the liquidity is so low, we don't really want to crash the market ourselves. So we are all in on this. We need to make it work, and we intend to make it work.
Hello and welcome to another interview. My name is Claudio and this is CryptoChain, and joining me today is Bruno from RMRK. Once again on this channel, this time he's going to talk about the latest from RMRK. What have they been up to? Because we know there has been a migration to Moonbeam, so he's here to talk about that as well. But of course, we'll ask a lot more questions just to get a general idea of what's been going on. So Bruno, welcome. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. We're not going to ask you who you are, because if people have been watching this channel for a while, they like to know who you are. And if you didn't, you can check out the very first video I did with Bruno, popping up on the top right-hand corner of the screen. So Bruno, how have you been? How has RMRK been doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. So yeah, we've been heads down building in this bear market, trying to get things going, trying to push things out that we've been working on for a while. Obviously, since our pilot proposal didn't work out, and generally interest in the polkadot ecosystem seems to be waning, we have decided to opt for a more sustainable tech stack, which is basically the EVM contracts, because that has much more reach, and ultimately to survive we need reach, because that's what gets us marketplace users, which gets us commissions, which pays the salaries, you know. And so we've been focusing really hard on making the our contracts into ERCs, which we've now succeeded. So now we have 3 formalized final ERCs. They're now officially EVM standards, and you can deploy them on any EVM chain, and they'll just work just fine. Obviously, the first deployment target is going to be Moonbeam, and then we'll see where we'll go depending on interest, user volumes. Ultimately, it really kind of depends on the users and builders. Like if somebody builds something really, because this is all open technology, so you know, there's no gates that we keep here. So in terms of builders, anybody can really pick this technology up and just spin up a really cool project on their own, on even their own private EVM chain, for all we care. The difference is where we're going to add Singular support next. So Singular as a marketplace needs to know which chain to read data from, and we'll obviously have some priorities there, depending on, you know, the general appeal of the ecosystem and so on. But the main blocker is adding. So we've built the system in a way that is reasonably easy to add new EVM chains, but the main blocker is still having an indexer for that chain, because if you look at the current NFT technology, all you really need to do to build an NFT marketplace is to track one single event. And that event is whether or not an NFT was transferred, and from whom to whom. That's it. So if you know when an NFT traveled, that's all you really need to make a marketplace. Well, with NFTs 2.0, you have 26 events. So you have much more data to index. You need to keep an eye on new assets being added, asset priority being shifted, children being added to parents, children being equipped or unequipped on parents. You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens here that needs to be indexed and kept an eye on. So it puts much more strain on a system that you build to support this. So, you know, while NFTs 2.0 do open up many more gates in terms of utility and integrations and everything else, it's also much more complex to add support for. So this is why Singular is not going to be launching, you know, on all of these chains at once. Instead, we're just focusing on building it and just basically testing in production on Moonbeam, and then seeing how that goes, fixing what needs to be fixed, and then deploying everywhere else one by one as we meet the builders and help them deploy with us.
Okay, what I'd like to know is about the differences. So when you are using, you're building basically on top of, you're using a hack to build on top of Kusama when you initially launched Singular, right? But what I'd like to know is why, what benefits does it bring being on Moonbeam as opposed to the way you were before?
Well, so the hack originally relied on something like a very primitive implementation. Think of it like the Bitcoin ordinals thing. So it's a very primitive way of making NFTs where you just slap custom data onto blocks, but not into blocks. So it's just on the blocks. And so in order to be aware of that data, you have to be aware of all the data that was ever written to all the blocks ever. And then you need to kind of draw a conclusion from all of that data combined. This is how ordinals works as well. And this is how colored coins worked back in the day in 2014 or even before 2012, I think. And so what the problem there is that the more NFTs you have, the more data you have to track across all of these blocks, the further into the past you constantly have to keep looking in order to be aware of the most recent valid state of the NFT ecosystem there. So for example, if Alice has 5 Bored Apes in block 10, and she sends 3 Bored Apes to Bob in block 12, and then she sends 3 more apes to Charlie in block 15, if you look at all of those interactions separately, they're all valid. But only once you look at them in total, you can see that the second transaction is invalid because Alice no longer has enough Bored Apes to send. You know, she sent more than she had.
Okay.
And so this hack model that we had required you to literally track every single thing that happened to the NFTs ever in order to get the most accurate current state. With EVM implementation, you basically have a current database at all times, which means that all you have to do to find out the current state of an NFT is you check its current state. That's it. You check in that block where you're interested, and that's it. It'll tell you who has it, whether or not they can send it, and so on. You don't need to check the past. If you want to check the past, you can. If you're interested in the history of trading, of moving, or provenance, or whatever else. Maybe Obama held the NFT 2 years ago and now it has extra value. Sure, that's all part of the history. But the current state, which is most important for marketplaces, because you need to know the current state if you're going to allow somebody to list it for sale or buy it, that part is now contained in a single block in a single state where you can easily query it. And so that's the biggest gain here.
Okay, I understand. Cool, that makes sense. And that obviously, helps with speed at the end of the day because it improves searchability as well, right? Seeing that you have access to the data straight away.
Yeah, searchability depends a lot on the indexing. So you can't really search the blockchain. You have to, in order to search the block, like you can't really say, give me all the NFTs that were ever traded by Zeneca. That doesn't work because the blockchain doesn't care about your history.
Right.
In order to search the history, you have to literally index all the past, put it into a database, and then use a regular database to search across it. So searching, no, but being able to easily find that information and index it, yes, absolutely.
Okay, now I need to ask you, what's going to happen to the Remark token on Statemine?
Nothing.
Is it going to remain there?
Yeah, there's no maintenance cost. There's nothing really that we don't have any responsibility towards maintaining that. There's nothing we have to do to keep it there. So there's also nothing we have to do to move it elsewhere. It's a token that has that's had its launch there, and there's no need to do anything with it. It would just complicate matters.
What about the utility of the xcRMRK token on Moonbeam now that you are on Moonbeam? Will it play any sort of utility on there, or what's going to happen?
I mean, yeah, sure. There's a lot of utilities planned for the token. Among the first ones will be just being able to use it as a currency on Singular, not just for trading and listing the NFTs, but also for any commission that you have to pay on Singular for anything at all. It will be lower if you use Remark rather than any other token.
Right.
So you are incentivized to use the Remark token for your actions on Singular, and we're going to make sure that this persists across any EVM chain we launch on, because Remark is now available on all the EVM chains bridged through multi-chain. You can very easily get it wherever you want. And so you will be encouraged to use it in our marketplace and in all the other products that we launch related to Singular or unrelated to it.
Okay. When you say you're going to have discounts, do you mean like you're going to have benefits when you're buying or selling NFTs, but the transaction will still be paid in Glimmer? So because you're operating on Moonbeam, right? You're not going to be able to replace that, or is that the case?
For now. So we have plans to replace Glimmer with a Remark for transaction fees as well, which would work through something like Biconomy, where you essentially behind the scenes, Relayer essentially pays the transaction for you, and you send them the Remark token. So To the user, it looks like they're paying for a transaction in Remark, but behind the scenes, actually, Bioconomy liquidates that Remark, takes a small commission, and pays the gas for you. That's how these relayers work. So this is the meta transaction model, and it is very handy for abstracting away this complexity. Additionally, on Singular, there's this fee when you purchase an NFT, a small fee goes to the Remark team. That fee will be lower when you use Remark as a currency. This is all to kind of both add utility to Remark, but also to make it easier for people to use the ecosystem. So if we abstract away the gas cost into xcRMRK, then it's just a unified currency for this. So you don't need this token and this token and this token. It just makes life easier for everybody. But ultimately, there's only so much you can do with a system that has, with a system where you can just play with smart contracts. Essentially, sending transactions is still a chain level operation that needs to be paid in gas. So it's very hard to literally remove that completely, which is why we're looking into solutions like account abstraction and other things that allow you to literally remove that on the chain native level, while not sabotaging the token economy of the parent chain that you're on. So this is something that we'll be exploring for much more much better usability.
Yeah, interesting. Now let's talk about the games on Remark. So we know that the Everloot team were planning a migration to Moonbeam as well. This was quite some time ago because of the Kusama fees going up. So I'm curious, what's the status with that? Because I haven't personally followed up to see like how they're migrating with Remark right now, or what is their current progress? Do you know?
Well, you will have to ask them for details, but we are in touch with them regularly. All the builders that are building really meaningful stuff on our protocol are in pretty regular touch with us, and we do our best what we can with our limited resources to help them with advice and code and whatever. One thing I can say though is that they've proven to be exceptionally resourceful and very ambitious in just learning everything they need to do to pull this off, and so they did.
Wow. Okay.
So they've already migrated a huge chunk of the NFTs. They've done a really good job. They didn't migrate the soulbound parts yet because that EAP has not yet been finalized. So we're all still waiting for that to finalize so that we can be safe that it works as intended. But generally everything else, from what I've gathered, is ready or close to ready. So I think they'll be the first, the first collection to launch using Remark on Moonbeam.
Sounds good. And then we're going to see more of them as well launch soon, I guess. Everloot is just one of them because I know there are other ones that are building. So we'll see when they also integrate. Now, I do need to ask you, because we've been speaking about a Singular now, but I want to move on to Skybreach. So I know that you've been really busy at Remark, trying to work on this migration to Moonbeam, but can I ask, like, what is the current status with Skybreach? Are we still going to see the chunky quests? And if so, when do you guesstimate? Because obviously, we always hear soon in crypto, but like just to get like a high level, because we know you've been busy with the migration. So I'm assuming you may not have had enough time to focus on Skybridge. So that's why I want to ask, like, what's the current status on that? Like,
yeah. So all the priority has been shifted to Singular, because this is something we need to put out existentially, because it's literally something that we need to survive. Skybreach is, in progress. We have prototypes being built and tested, just this engine being developed. Everything else is being done in-house, but ultimately we don't really have a full game development team, so it's progressing slowly.
Yeah.
However, several related, so we can call them mini games or experiences, are being developed that are related to Skybreach and the lands, and that will add utility to the lands and everything else that you already have from Skybreach. So we have this project called Chunky Breach Hunters. We have the Chunky Quests, and Chunky Quest is something that is really my own experiment, something that I'm doing on the side that I'm not putting on the team's back. So that'll probably take longer to launch than, with all the other responsibilities that I have, than the Chunky Breach Hunters, which will be a very fun to play game coming out pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon, but we have some really nice prototypes already, and we do intend to, like, as soon as singular EVM is out and this chaos is kind of behind us and we can focus on just minor incremental improvements to it, a lot of time will free up for people to experiment with really wild stuff. Now that we are out of the, hacky Kusama waters and can actually experiment with productive, experiment productively rather than pile on more tech debt with this hacky approach. So once this is cleared, then we'll know much more. Then we'll be able to tell you much more. I don't know. It could be that on the first day of singular EVM launch, everything breaks because people find a million hacks and nothing works. It could be that it works flawlessly and we start launching mini games, experiences, and big things immediately the week after. It could be anything in between. So we don't know. We'll see. But it's getting really close now. Final tests are in progress. The EAPs have, been getting merged, and we'll all know more fairly soon.
Okay, sounds good. Fair enough. And I appreciate your honesty. Now, I need to ask you one of the hard questions, which I have to ask everyone, especially in this situation with the market. And we know that you've recently had some challenges with the funding as well and with the referendum. How is the Remark team doing in terms of runway at the moment? And I don't need to know amounts, but just in terms of like sustainability to keep the team going in terms of timeframes. How long do you think you have left until you'll say we're in panic mode? We need to do something to try and get funding and continue development.
Oh, we've been in panic mode for a while. It's not, I mean, we have some runway. It's hard to estimate because, we don't know who or what we'll need to hire to push something out. Maybe there's going to be additional expenses. Maybe we'll need to pay for this and that. Yeah. Or maybe, our expenses will dramatically reduce even next month because AI will suddenly be able to do much more than it even currently can do. So I can't really predict, but we are, we're good to go, through, I don't know. I can't really estimate, but we're good to go for a while. Even if we do decide to, fundraise, there's really nothing we can fundraise on anymore. Yeah. So we have to make this work because we've given out all the tokens. We have nothing else to sell, So we are all in on this. We need to make it work, and we intend to make it work.
So are the developers in the team willing to work for free just to deliver this, do you think?
No, I would never ask anybody to work for free. Everybody's getting paid no matter what, even if I have to pay it personally. It's not okay. Like we're not gonna ask anybody to work for free. There are too many funded opportunities out there for me to ask anybody to work for free. If somebody feels passionate enough to, work more or whatever to donate their time, fine, but I would never ask it of people.
Okay. And what about the Moonbeam funding? Did you try to reach out to them and see if you can get support there?
I mean, Moonbeam has like dozens of applications coming in every month. And we've had that original grant agreement with them that we got a while back, but it took too long to ship, so that's still in the air, and I don't really want to ask for more funding until that situation's being cleared up. Because you don't really deserve funding if you didn't manage to ship the previous goal, and I want us to ship the previous goal and finalize that chapter first before even attempting to search for more. But really, like, I need to be clear that I expect NFTs 2.0 to be popular enough and in demand enough for Singular to really make up all the costs that we have. So I've seen people needing this, and once it's out, it'll just be a matter of launching as many projects as possible to demonstrate the benefits of this technology, and then everything should work out as intended.
Okay, now I have one more question now that we're on the funding part. It's in relation to when you sold the Skybreach lands. I know that a lot of that funding went into one specific team wallet. So my question is, because I've been looking at that wallet and I saw that not much xcRMRK has been moved out of that. Is there like a plan to use some of that eventually to fund the team if needed as an emergency fund?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be liquidating that only as needed. Obviously, while the liquidity is so low, we don't really want to crash the market ourselves. And so we will be using that to, payout bounties, payout salaries to people who want to accept Remark tokens, to generally provide liquidity on any DEX that needs liquidity, stuff like that can put the token to work rather than just selling it and liquidating it. We have other assets from before that we are willing to liquidate before we get to xcRMRK. So it's not something that, that's something that we've always had this goal of reclaiming as much Remark as we can, because we've given out too much of it. And so now our goal is to fight for it. So all of the marketplace commissions, everything we do always has been priced in Remark, because we want the Remark back. Because we know its potential and we just want the tokens back. We've given out too much. And if people, don't want to hold on to it, we're more than happy to take it back. So selling Remark is the last kind of thing that we want to do at any kind of scale.
Okay, makes sense. Cool. I appreciate that. Cool. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. I don't have any other questions from my side, but I do want to ask you, like, if you have anything you'd like to share with the audience, anything exciting coming up that they should be aware of.
Yeah. There's plenty exciting stuff coming up. There are some things I can't really talk about because it's not really public yet. It's not. There are some infrastructure plays happening in Polkadot itself that we're going to be a part of, and that should be really interesting. I'm thinking what I can share. I don't know. Just keep an eye on this stuff. Prepare to build and to launch. Look at our docs, user docs. Try and build something. Tell us what works and what doesn't. We'd be happy to fix the documentation and help you launch something. Because right now we really just need as many builders as possible. And I've maybe throughout the last 2 years, I've been talking maybe too much about the gaming application of Remark. And so now everybody's building games. So I would like to encourage people to think outside the box and think about things way beyond gaming. This is for more than just, it's perfect for gaming, but it's more than just gaming. So, reputational avatars, reputation for on-chain activity is a big one. Composable multi-user music is another one. Harbinger taxed ad spots on billboards outside of your bank so that you can rent pixel space to show a giant middle finger to your central bank. Stuff like that. All of that is very, very, very possible with Remark and very fun to build. So I encourage people to really kind of experiment, think outside the box, and come up with interesting use cases that we haven't thought of. And maybe docs.rmrk.app will inspire you if you go to the concepts section. There are some ideas that you can build with this, but I would be happy to, explore some more. And if you need to discuss any of them, please join us in our Telegram groups and let's see what we can build.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and share this. So I look forward to having you again when we'll have more updates, especially when we'll get something in regards to Skybreach launching, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff coming up there. So Bruno, thank you for joining, and thank you as well for watching. Also, don't forget, if you want to check out Remark, I will be posting links in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment. Till next time.